Good morning, YouTube community. This is going to be a quick video. I've not posted a video in a while, so the purpose of this video is to start a pattern of posting videos. It's going to be a one-take, really quick, short video. It's my current project in C++, so I've spent the last 10 months learning to code from scratch. Didn't know anything. I didn't even know what an if-else statement was. I spent the first 6 months learning Python, so I learned syntax of Python. I learned the logic of programming. I learned all the way up until I started to learn classes, and I think that was very important to get the groundwork in a simpler language, simpler to understand language, so that I could then move on to the actual language I wanted to learn for video game development, C++. And so let's get into the code. First, this is Hobo Killer, my new game Hobo Killer. It's a fighting game. We're going to start, we've got the different game states, and we work on a switch case statement system. So different states, for example, idle, doing nothing, moving the character, jump, have not implemented yet, attack, and hit. Jump and hit have not been implemented yet. However, the animation for hit and the transition to the hit case has been implemented. So before I show you the code as well, I'm going to show you, this is the entity class. This is the, I'm still pretty unknowledgeable about classes. However, I know how to create a class, I know how to add variables and functions of that class, and I do not need any help from an outside source in order to create and implement a class into the main script. This has been my point of study for the past 2 months is classes. So here's our class functions. Entity animation, this handles the animation for every single state that the character is in, idle, walking, attacking. It just takes the running time and then adds delta time to it, and then it takes the frame, so it's going to add 1 to each frame. If you see here, there's like 10 for the idle, 10 frames. And then as soon as the frames, as soon as the frame is greater than or equal to the max frames, which I set in the character itself, where is that right here? Max frames, right here. We change that every time we call this function. And so when frame is greater than max frames, and we just set frame to 0. And then set position if I have to change the position in the world from a certain like special ability or something. Set size, this is unused currently, but could be used later when I would like to make power-ups for the characters. Change animation, so this transitions the animation from the current animation to a new animation, and then we call in the entity animation. And drawing the hitbox is just, you'll see later the hitboxes. So into the main script, we have enumerate for game state, and then we have a struct for the animation. And that struct for the animation was just to kind of clean up the code. We had a lot of repetitious code for each animation. And now instead of 3 lines, it is 1 single line containing the texture, containing the size of the texture, containing how many frames are in that texture. And so we can and then go in later and add animation to, I believe, a function. And then this is where we call the entity player. It says its position in the world, and then a scale variable, because if we didn't scale him, he would be very, very tiny, because the texture itself is only 48 pixels, and the size of the screen is I think 1280 by I'll call it up here, 1920 by 1080. So 48 pixels on that is looking tiny. And so, next up, we have booleans for attacking, and then we have a float that handles what direction the character is looking at, as well as we have the enemy hitbox. This is just a placeholder because I haven't spawned an entity enemy in yet, or entity second player in yet, if I end up making this 2 players. But we can change that later to match entity enemy hitbox. Next up, we got delta time, just keeping a variable to keep and make sure that things don't run too fast if your computer's really fast, or too slow if your computer's too slow. It's all going to run at the same speed. It's a little debug just to see the coordinates of the player. More debug for previous current state. The idea behind this previous and current state is so that I can later then track what state the character is in previously for like for button combos, for example. If I was to make an array for combinations, which I will be doing soon, have not done yet. We'll get into our main structure switch case. So we got idle. This is where we do the animation. This is a lot of repetitious code here. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to structure this. But for now, it's not a big deal. So we're just leaving it. And then we have our movement, key A and D. We have our attacks, J, K, L. So it's on a light attack, medium attack, heavy attack system. And my sprite frames are not very... You need to have a lot of sprites for a fighting game, and my sprite frames are not very... there's not a lot of sprite frames in there, so I have to make... A lot of these custom things I have to make by myself. And it takes a little time. So for now, we just have standing attacks. We don't have crouching attacks or jumping attacks. Potentially we could in the future, if I decide to bring this project to a state where it's beyond where my initial vision is before I want to move on. And then key I is this little debug. This is the player has been hit and transition to hit. And so move, state current equals move. And then state previous assigns the current state, which would be idle, to state previous, and then the duration of what you're in move. The current state is going to be move, and the previous state is going to be idle. And then when you stop moving, vice versa. And so here we have vector2 normalized, player.direction. Not really necessary because we're only A and D movement. However, it wouldn't hurt to have that in. Wouldn't hurt at all. And then walk animation. And then this is the actual like logic for moving left and right. So direction, position, and then if you look up here to right left, if right left equals -1, we're going to look left. And if right left equals +1, we're going to look right. And that is handled... Where is that handled? It's somewhere in here. It works. So if I ever have to change it, which I don't... Here it is. No, this is for the attacking. But it's whatever. And then J. Why don't I have... Oh, I need to add more of these because that's... I guess I can only move and jab. But we'll see. We'll see when we show the game itself. And then if we're in attack, so case attack. Whenever we press our attack button, our state current is now attack, which takes us here. And if it's a jab, this logic. If it's cross, this logic. If it's a heavy attack, this logic. It's all repeating, minus the hitboxes. The hitboxes I had to go in myself and make sure that the hitboxes were correct for how the player is in the game. And so player position X, player position Y, and then the size. And the size for the for the heavy changes, because you'll see in game the heavy is like a downward cross, kind of like an overhead right. And so it just needs to be different. And then I even added in a little bit of logic. If player frame is greater than or equal to 2, that frame variable here, then we use the hitbox. So only the frame duration of the character's arm extended triggers the hitbox. And I believe that is else. That is all. Yeah, I've checked collision racks between the attack box and the enemy hitbox for each of them. Attack hits enemy. I've got to figure out a system to where only one attack hit enemy trigger hits, rather than the duration of it colliding, hitting multiple times. And I think I'm going to do that through invincibility frames through the hit case. And then this is begin drawing the screen, clear background, draw texture. That is the background picture you'll see in a second. And then this is where I'm drawing the player, everything, source, destination, the hitbox of the player. Draw Texture Pro for all the animations. This is the animation itself, source, destination. Vector 2, position in the world, rotation, and then color. And then drawing the hitbox here. It's a function I showed you earlier. Draw rectangle lines for the enemy hitbox. And then visualize. Okay, drawing the hitbox, attack hitbox that gets triggered during the attacks, for the duration of the attacks, the color red. And then just unloading the textures so that our RAM does not get overflowed when, I mean, some 48 by 480 pixel things is not really gonna fuck up our RAM, but it's just good practice for later. So, into the game. This is the game itself. And so we've got the movement. It's a little buggy. You can see it kind of jumps towards the end of the frame. It's just I have to get into Aseprite and fix that. We've got the hitbox around the character, and I would like to close that hitbox in a bit in order to make it a little more skeleton-like. However, that's going to be a lot of work. So that's very far on the back burner. And so then we have our jab animation. You see the red box only during the extended period of the jab. The cross animation only during the extended period of the cross. And then we have the overhand right for only the duration and length of the heavy. And then this is just the I got hit animation here. And then you can't see my debug window, but it is saying attack landed every time it is inside the hitbox. So we have our system for collision detection between players. One thing I'm going to have to take out is the ability to walk inside collision hitboxes. Super simple. If X equals X, then player X equals the previous X or whatever. But yeah. This is the game I've been making. These are all free assets. I paid for the player animation things just because it's very like debug. It's perfect for debugging. It has like 20 to 30 different animations for different things, like climbing ladders even. So it's a good thing, and I just wanted to help out the artist who made it. And from here I even made the idle animation that he made. The arms are down, which makes no sense for a fighting game, so I remade it in Aseprite to have his arms up, especially for walking as well. That's why it's bugged, is because I somewhere during my drawing of that it messed up, which I think I just have to delete a frame. But okay, that was the video. This is my current C++ project. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. and I look forward to posting more. I thought this video was going to be short. It's 15 minutes. I'm sorry, but thank you. Take care.